very much, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Kate Harvey, and I'm the General Manager of the G+, which is the Global Offshore Wind Health and Safety Organisation. In previous years, I think the idea of hosting a webinar in August would be utter madness. But COVID-19 has led us to do many strange occurrences, and I guess not so many people are on holiday, so we felt that it made sense just to get this information out there as soon as we possibly can, given what's happening with the pandemic. So as the G+, we've had many a debate as to what our response should be to the pandemic. We're the leading global body on health and safety for offshore wind, but quality, detailed global guidance is impossible when countries have been affected in different ways and the government's responses have been so varied. In recent years, there's been a strong drive for all of the trade bodies and associations working on health and safety to all work together to avoid duplication. And we felt that this was especially true and needed with the pandemic. You don't really encounter, I hope, a much bigger problem than this one. So for this innovation challenge, the G+ has worked together with the ORE Catapult and the Workboat Association to see if there was anything we could all do together. And that's where the Knowledge Transfer Network and the IX Innovation Challenge, that's how it's created and how it came about, to see what innovative ideas there were for improving COVID-19 safety when transiting technicians to offshore wind farms. I think you'll appreciate, I'm probably preaching to the converted here, but the CTV is not the biggest of spaces, yet we need it to get workers to the offshore wind farms. And with critical infrastructure, we need the offshore wind farms to be generating, and we need to do that safely. So this was the challenge. I'm going to spoil the ending of the story and tell you now that there is no silver bullet. You won't hear that on this call, unfortunately. But what we have uncovered are a number of different solutions that help to reduce the risk of transmission. A bit of a shopping list, if you like. So there's some real innovative suggestions out there that we're delighted to be able to present to you today. So G+ is obviously a global organisation, and this is a UK-based competition, but we can't see any reason why these solutions can't be used anywhere in the world. Despite the different government responses, I'm not aware of there being different strains of the virus in different countries. I can't see any problems with why these innovative solutions couldn't work anywhere. So before I hand over, I'd just like to explain briefly what the G+ does. So the Energy Institute is the secretariat for the G+, and they've organised this webinar today. And then the G+ itself, Arturo, if you can show the G+ slide, please, collects incident data. So that's our sort of backbone, if you like. All of our G+ members provide health and safety incident data to us. And from that, we can see what we should be doing based on the data. And that helps to guide us our other pillars, the three other pillars. So another work stream that we have is good practice guidance. So we produce good practice guidance for the topics that we see as high risk areas or where we've seen incidents previously. And then we do safe by design workshops on different topics to try and design them safely from the very beginning. And then the final one is on the next slide, which is Toolbox. And Toolbox is learning from incidents. So every time a significant incident happens in offshore wind, the idea is it can be shared on Toolbox for everyone to learn about. And that's the general ethos of all of our work. Everything we do is available to all, everywhere, anytime. Anyone can access it. It's all just on the G+ website. So if you'd like to find out more about G+ or Energy Institute, then you can see the website, but also sign up for the G+ LinkedIn page to keep in touch. So for this webinar, any questions you have, then please put them in the blog. I've seen, there's been a few comments on the chat already, so that's great if you can put any questions in there. But remember, anything you're typing can be seen by everyone, so there need to be sensible questions. And we'll respond towards the end of the webinar to as many questions as we possibly can, and we'll follow up on any in writing afterwards. And we'll also circulate a document with all of the winners with their details, so you can contact them and find out more if you would like to. And we'll be recording this webinar as well. I'm conscious that it's a funny time in many different countries, so not suitable for everyone to join. So we're recording, and you please share it with your colleagues, anyone who might be interested, because we'd really like to get the message out there about this challenge and who the winners are and what's available. So that's enough from me, just for the time being. So I'm going to hand over to Mike Newman, and he's going to give us a bit of an introduction on the program itself, and how it all works. So Mike, if I can pass over to you.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, Arturo, next slide, please. And the next one, thanks. Yeah, so I'm Mike Newman, director of a consultancy called Pelagy. We're a specialist onshore and offshore wind innovation and business development consultancy. We're contracted to the KTN to support with the Innovation Exchange program. So if you could flip to the next slide, please. So the Innovation Exchange originally piloted in 2017 in offshore wind, and it was such a success that it's actually been expanded since to multiple other sectors. But we piloted in 2016 as the KTN, and we were supported by the Catapult as part of its activities under the Offshore Wind Innovation Hub. The Innovation Hub is the UK's primary coordinator for innovation priorities in offshore wind. So together we formed a very interesting group. So as I say, since then it's grown beyond offshore wind. We've got some great results, including showing corporates 480 companies that they otherwise wouldn't have seen that are based in the UK. We've had 18 commercial contracts placed out of around 70 trials or proof of concepts that have been undertaken with the most interesting companies they've found. And so far, 1.95 million pounds worth of contracts have been placed, and that's counting. So there's another 16 million or so in the pipeline that we're expecting results on soon for the companies. So a really, really powerful program that so far. So please, next slide, Arturo. Just basically what we do. So we work with corporates that have innovation challenges, and define those, help them translate them into language that other sectors might be able to understand and solve for them. Usually we're focusing on close to market technologies. There's very often a solution sitting in a different sector that can solve the problem that we've got. But we offer the corporate the ability to quickly and easily scan what's available in those other sectors, and focused, of course, on the UK. And it's great for the solutions providers out there, because we essentially fast track them to the right person within an organisation in a completely new sector for them, and effectively help them prove the value proposition of their products, and of course, help them through that process with the corporate as well. So next slide, please. We've got a website. All the challenges are live on there. You can go to it at ktninnovationexchange.co.uk. That's an image of it there. You'll see all of the live challenges at the moment on the site. And next slide, please. Yeah. So the reason why it's important for the challengers that partake, it's a big topic in offshore wind, particularly. But we enable you to build your UK content and further expose yourselves to the UK supply chain. We quickly and easily expose you to new technologies in different sectors that perhaps you don't have time to look into, or that you've just never heard of before. And of course we're time efficient, so we do a lot of the work for you, and quite importantly, it's free to use as well as a program. We can make challenges confidential as well, so we don't have to name you in those challenges, which sometimes can be advantageous. Next slide, please. So we launched the Workboat Challenge, and Kate really already covered this. Here's a picture of what it looked like. It was a great collaboration between all of the different organisations, and I'm just going to reiterate again what Kate says. There's no silver bullet solution to the problem we were trying to solve. But we really did recognise the power of combining different technologies in different instances, particularly because the offshore wind industry requires site-specific solutions. Every site's probably going to be different and probably going to require different things. So as Kate put it, I hope you enjoy seeing the shopping list today, because the companies have put in some great efforts. Next slide, please. So just as a final word from me, when you see the presentations today, please do get in touch with them directly afterwards. We will be sharing all the contact details, everything you'll need to do that. They would be more than welcome to have new inquiries for their products, even if it's just on an information basis. So very keen for anyone to do that. And also, if you're a corporate listening in, we'd love for you to approach us to become a challenger and to actually let us to host your challenges to help you find great solutions from the UK to help solve them. There's a whole world of interesting companies out there, and we know it all very well, and we'll be more than happy to help you solve them. As I say, it's free to participate. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much. And I think, Kate, now we're passing over to the first company. Is that right? Or is it Kerry?
No, so thanks, Mike. So next up is Kerry Forster from the Workboat Association. Kerry's just going to explain a bit to us about his organisation before we then hear from the winners.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you to the Energy Institute and the G+ for hosting this webinar today. So a brief introduction to the Workboat Association and myself. My name is Kerry Forster. I'm Chief Executive of the Workboat Association. We are the trade association for the workboat industry. That is vessels that are under 24 meters. So predominantly vessels that you'll see working in the offshore wind industry. The next slide, please, Arturo. And again. So we've been accepted since 1994, and we acted as a crucial point of liaison between the membership and the key regulatory authorities, such as the MCA, who govern maritime operations in UK waters. We work with important industry bodies such as the G+, and through our collaborations, we've created safety, technical and operational best practice standards. We provided a unified platform for industry sharing, lobbying and debate, and we've delivered industry recognized training and certification opportunities. At the moment, we are a membership base of approximately 130 companies, ranging between vessel owners, operators and stakeholders. And as we stand today, we collectively represent close to 650 operational vessels, which are working all over the globe. And that will link into the next slide, please, Arturo. And one more time again. So when we think about workboats, we think about crew transfer vessels in the offshore wind industry. So on the top left here, we see a couple of crew transfer vessels working in with wind turbines, but also with other construction vessels. On the bottom left, we see a picture of a tug with a tow of a jack-up barge, which is often used for the construction offshore wind projects. And two more clicks, please, Arturo. And we also see here guard vessels and larger, more specific types of crew transfer vessels in the bottom right, where you'll see this has been designed with fuel transfer and bulk carrying in mind. So the size of vessel and the use of vessels within offshore wind does vary largely. For this competition, we were concentrating mainly on crew transfer vessels because we have a lot of people in a confined area, though we do see that the outcomes from this can be transferred across the entirety of our membership, but I think other transport options as well. If you could click again, please, Arturo. And another 3 times. You will see here where we've got vessels working in the military sector and support vessel sector there. We think this would also be beneficial to the training and standards industry. We've got the port industry as well and towage. And on the bottom right, you'll see we work often in marine civils, dredging, diving, and survey. So we believe that the outputs of today will have a large effect for our whole industry. And one more click, please, Arturo. And this is our details. So if you want to hear more about us or find out more about the work we do, then please reach us via our website here. And that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kerry. So next up is one of the winners. So the company is Canary Sentinel. Offshore, I'm going to hand over to you to present.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Kate. Hi, everybody. My name's Arsha Gracio, and I'm the founder of Canary Sentinel. We are a UK-based startup, and we focus on worker health and monitoring their health in very high risk and high exposure environments. Next slide, please. So our history and our pedigree is actually routed in medicine, in AI, in devices, and our mission really is to create solutions which are medical grade, which can be rolled out across multiple industries, because we believe that now, especially in the times of COVID, it's extremely important for us to make sure that our health is taken care of and we have the systems in place to safeguard employees. Next slide, please. So in our research, what we find is that the maritime industry and most of transportation industries don't have the most stellar safety records. And of course, everyone's working to be able to improve that. But COVID has literally thrown a spanner in the works for everybody. And the reason for that is because the disease doesn't choose who it's going to infect based on age or finances or any of that. If you belong to a certain if you have a certain DNA makeup, then you're going to be susceptible. It's really quite simple. Majority of people are asymptomatic, and that's the reason why we've got 20 million infected people in the world and about 319,000 in the UK. And this is people that we know of. Now, the problem with COVID is that it can exacerbate existing chronic conditions. And this is actually a chart here that talks about existing conditions in a majority of the people in their pre-employment medical screening examinations that they go on. This is from a 2019 report. So as you can see, given the kind of lifestyle that people seem to have in these industries, there is a huge propensity towards succumbing to infections like COVID, and then your chronic condition to manifest into other things. And it's that other things that's going to kill you if COVID doesn't. Now, the reason why this is something that we have to be really considerate about is because it's a multi-organ disease, meaning that it can infect a lot of your body, and therefore full body monitoring is actually very, very critical. And being able to catch symptoms of the infection before it becomes a full-blown crisis is absolutely essential. Next slide, please. So what we want to do is create the systems that are going to be relevant across the person's entire life. It's not about the time they're on the workboat, it's actually around them. And so they don't carry the disease, with them and then pass it on once they get on the platform or once they get home, because that's a point that nobody can actually control. And who you are in contact with, I mean, right now, the only thing between us and the disease is a mask, really, if you think about it. So to be able to catch the infection before it actually spreads and to be able to isolate yourself and also seek the help that you need. And this is not just for COVID, it could also be for a heart attack, because that's a secondary infection because of COVID. So we want to monitor and catch all of these little biomarkers that will keep the worker safe and also the environment safer. Next slide, please. So this is how our solution actually looks. It's an entire platform. So we're not just looking at creating a one-off like an Apple Watch and that's it. That's not what we do. We're looking at affordability as something that's key to being able to roll this out to everybody. And we have our own device, which uses medical grade sensors. And it's able to track an entire spectrum of vital signs, including things like blood oxygen saturation and body temperature, because both of these are key markers of infection, not just COVID, but any kind of respiratory infection. Your arrhythmia or any kind of irregular heartbeat and heart rate variability is also a key marker for health, not just COVID. So that's just two examples for you, including blood pressure. So we do this, we track all of these vital signs, and we also have a facial scanning non-contact application that's able to measure things like BMI and other markers that we can't do from just your wrist, and it's continuous monitoring. The second part is a mobile app that's on your device. And essentially what we do is triage people based on how they're feeling, things that we can't actually measure through a wearable device, so things like coughing and fatigue. And then we're able to give reports directly to the user so they can see exactly where they stand on the spectrum of health and what they need to do as a result of that. So if someone's in the red, then don't go to work, get help. If you're in the yellow, take some time out, get help. If you're in the green, great, good for you. And what you see at the bottom there, a little laptop screen, is an administrator interface, meaning you can see this health status of your employee, your team, location, department at any given point in time. So you know how people are doing. So if you see a lot of yellows in one area or one department, then you can be assured there's a super spreader there and you need to do something about it, or there's something not working there. So it enables any kind of company or HR or any occupational health and safety strategy to be really fine-tuned to the needs of your team. On the right side is really the support, the so what. So imagine you're diabetic, imagine you have cardiac conditions, which COVID, non-COVID, it is going to be a problem. Then how do we intervene? How do we help? And if it's COVID, you can't contact that person. So at that point, we have our telemedicine services on board. These are through partners, and we're able to use our application, the contactless application, to actually scan the person's vital signs in real time so that a doctor can actually take the right kind of decisions they need. Next slide, please. This is an access control device. So this can go into any kind of entrance of a workboat or on a platform or in the office or whatever. And it can scan employees as they enter for different vital signs, like I mentioned earlier, because our facial scan can also measure things like heart rate and temperature and so on. And so you're able to tell whether someone is ill or not ill, and you're able to really catch the disease before it can even spread. So you're able to find out how people are also feeling before it exacerbates. Next slide, please. In terms of pricing, we've tried to make it as competitive as possible. Simply because we can. Sensors are becoming cheaper. And we believe that by making the technology accessible to a wide spectrum of people, that's when we're going to be able to stop the transmission, the spread, help people live a better quality of life, and also take more control of their health. And the same thing for the workforce and the company, because we know that employers are invested in the health of their people, and that's really important. So we've got our band that we try to make accessible, and then we have a subscription for the reports. We've got our access control piece there, priced per device, and then for the scanning software on that. And then any kind of data analytics or insights based on who the company is and what they need, that's something that we can fine tune and deliver. And finally, the third-party services, which is telemedicine and behavioral health interventions. So that really is the spectrum of what we offer. And we would be very keen on having the opportunity of working with you if it's of interest. Thank you.
Brilliant, many thanks for that. Yeah, so you've got Asia's contact details are there, but we'll share them at the end and we'll share more information. And conscious that was kind of a quick run through, but hopefully it will give you a feeling for what's available and what's possible. And I'm sure if you get in touch, I'm happy to set up more meetings to find out more details and really understand what's available. Great, thank you. So next is Seashore. A company I'd like to introduce to you to is Seashore. So Graham, if you're okay to start, please.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, Arisha. That was fascinating from the medical point of view. Seashore were an engineering and manufacturing and development company, so we come at it from a slightly different angle. So what I wanted to do was just say a little bit about Seashore, how we perceive the problem, what solutions we came up with, and how that changed from some of the feedback from the first presentation. So Seashore, we're a small family-owned business. We've been around since the 60s, really manufacturing equipment for the starting off with the sailboat industry and dinghies, and we also have other brands called Blakes and Taylors, which are classic marine products, cookers, heaters, toilets. So a lot of equipment for going into the marine industry. Recently, we've developed the shock mitigation seat suspension systems. When we talk about health and safety and fatigue, we look at that slightly differently as well. Getting people to their destination in a reasonable condition is also quite important, whether that's from a commercial point of view or from a leisure point of view. Everything's done here in the UK. I have a factory here with people. Everything's designed, manufactured right here. As well as marine, we get involved in an awful lot of safety critical military type equipment, That's for the UK and European customers. Along with this ourselves, when we were looking at this problem, we've involved a company called Norsap, who were probably the leading manufacturer of marine seats. Next slide, please. So here is, as we perceive the problem, there are a lot of different seat designs. There are a lot of different configurations. And as we've spoken to people, there's some of the longer trips, people want to chill out and lie down. And yeah, the array of different configurations is extremely interesting. Next slide, please. And if you can play the video as well, thanks. So here is a brief of our solution. What we were about and the way that we approached this was prevention of transmission. So if people have got past Arisha's scan and they are in the environment, how do we keep them safe? The other constraint that we saw was the other PPE that people are required when they're at sea. That's life jackets, maybe full immersion suits, survival. There's a lot of kit that people could be wearing when they're getting into and being on these boats. So our solution was to keep things simple. So this is a simple pull-down hood. There's no touching. It's just attached to the armrests and will come down. Then we've used some existing air purification technology, or a couple of technologies actually, which is the Biozone ultraviolet light disinfectant, but then coming out an HEPA filter and supplying air in at about 6 litres per hour into the hood, which is the general amount of consumption, to keep people, their environment has been disinfected. Next slide, please. So the other issues that we were thinking about was the conformity to standards. There's one overriding piece of safety standard which is known as ALARP, as low as reasonably practicable. So what can people do as an operator that is reasonably practicable to keep people safe? We've mentioned a bit about the filtration and the combination with Biozone ultraviolet system and combination with HEPA filters, and fail-safe. If someone's wearing gear, we don't want to constrain them within the seat in any way and shut out any other indicators that there's a problem on the boat. Next slide, please. So the absolute final solution, if you could run the video, please. So we've modified our first presentation included the seat suspension and seat. We've updated that to a much more simple hood, which can fit to a lie flat seat and have the filtration system pumped straight to it. That significantly reduces the cost of having to change all the seats and is much more universal. I've included in here some of the other products that we've worked on through the COVID crisis, which are also applicable on the workboat. That's what we call the footy, which is, rather than touching the door handle, thing on the bottom of the door so you can open it with your foot. The other mechanism you can see there is the quarter turn turnstile. So if someone's gone into a blind alley and you can't see them, just by walking through, it simply turns and says there's someone else there. So that's some of the other COVID preventative products we've been working on. Next slide, please.
Sorry, Graham, is this the last one? Yeah, great.
Okay, so in summary, we're a company that develops marine equipment. We've used simple off-the-shelf components, and we've taken and modified the product given the feedback from the pitch. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, thank you, Graham. So next, I'd like to introduce you to a company called Flameskill, and I think Chris is here to present what Flameskill won the competition for.
Hello, yes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Pimlott. I'm the business manager of Flameskill. Flameskill is a specialist in supply and service on rectification of fire fighting equipment and safety equipment. One of the areas that we're specialists in is breathing apparatus and respiratory protection. Move on to the next slide, please. Okay, our solution that we're putting forward to the COVID-19 Workboat Challenge is a powered air purifying respirator, or PAPR for short. So we're calling it the crew transfer air system. Portable, it's very comfortable to wear, and it's gets around the whole social distancing thing, protects you, the user, and also other users in the vessel as well. Manufactured in the UK, is currently in use with a number of wind farm operators already. Some of them purchased it just for respiratory protection, going back some time, but they're now using it to aid the social distancing thing, not just on the workboats, but also within the wind turbines itself, within the lifts, and also in the nacelle areas. The system has got market-proven performance. It's used within other industries, different variants of it. So it's been launched, I think it was in 2016. So it's not something that's just come up in the last couple of months. It's been around for quite some time as an off-the-shelf solution that doesn't require any modifications or alterations to the vessel. And also you can use it not just on the wind transfer vessel to protect you getting on and off the vessel, on the vessel, but also protect you whilst working in the turbine itself, within the lift, or in other confined space areas such as the nacelle, etc. Slide, please. Okay, the system is really easy to use. It has one button to turn it on and one button to turn it off. If there's any issues with the unit as well, it will go into alert. So the system flows 165 litres of air in a minute into the head top. So you get a nice cooling effect when wearing it. So it's very comfortable to be worn. There's also a battery indicator on it as well. So when it's fully charged, you get the 4 LEDs that show. If the battery is running low, the last LED flashes, and you also get an audible alarm as well. The system is low profile, it's lightweight. It can be typically worn around the waist. It can be moved to the side of you, and it can also be unclipped and put on your lap when seated. Next slide, please. So the benefits of a powered air purifying respirator over a half mask is that you can wear this for continuous use. Half mask would typically need fit testing, you need to be clean shaven, and we could only be worn for an hour. Plus, it's also very uncomfortable to wear. A powered solution powers the air up into the head top as shown in the picture, okay? You have the same protection as you do as on a half mask, which is an APF of 20, and you also get the addition of your face, your eyes protected at the same time. The head top and the Duraflow itself, the CTAS, can be easily cleaned, decontaminated for the next wearer. We are suggesting that the head top part is personally issued to each wind turbine technician. The visors on these can easily be replaced, and the visor can be simply flipped up when not in use and flipped down when protection is required. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, the system, you do not need to be clean shaven and you do not need a fit test. It's comfortable to wear and it has like a cooling effect with the airflow generated from the system. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned earlier, we recommend that the head top part of the system is personally issued. That saves a lot of hassle with cleaning and decontaminating, where it's actually your own head top. It'll be up to you to keep clean. So there's no issues with sharing your head top with other users, etc. Next slide, please. At Flameskill, we are already an existing service centre for these units. It is an approved service centre. We have a number of technicians that can carry out this either on your site or the units can be returned to our workshop in Great Yarmouth. Next slide, please. If you can just play the video for me, please. I think this perfectly demonstrates it. So here we got a chap on a wind turbine vessel who's just walked on the vessel. He's now going to sit down. He's just unclipped the unit from his waist. Now putting on the harness of the seat. Fix it on, and then puts the actual CTAS unit on his lap, and he's ready to go. So in summary, the equipment is already in use with a number of wind turbine operators. You don't need to make any modifications or alterations to your vessel. It can be used on the wind turbine transfer vessel, as well as used on the wind turbines itself within the lifts, within the nacelle area. Systems already available. We supply and we can service the equipment.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Chris. So next up is a company called Entex, and Alex Trembath is presenting on their behalf. So Alex, I'll hand over to you.
Hi, I'm Alex Trembath, co-founder of Entex. We're a manufacturing company that specialises in health and safety equipment. I'm going to be going through two products. First of all, our walk-through decontamination booth, disinfectant operative, as well as our portable room for disinfecting the entire vessel. So we demonstrated these units at an Orsted facility last Friday. So I'm going to be going through the videos of that so you can see it in action. Could I have the next slide, please? So before I get started on the products, I'll give you a bit of information about the disinfectant used. As I can understand, the sound of disinfecting people can sound quite daunting, but I can assure you that the substance is completely safe. So our hypochlorous acid-based disinfectant is listed on the Biocidal Directive. In order to be listed, the solution has to pass many EN tests, one of which is EN 14476, efficiency against enveloped and non-enveloped viruses. As I mentioned, hypochlorous acid is non-toxic to humans. It already exists within us. Our immune system actually generates it to fight off pathogens oxidizing the cell walls. It's widely used in the food and medical industry due to its non-toxic nature, its ability to be safely fogged, its effectiveness, that pathogens can't develop resistance to it. We've got some information there showing, with some studies showing the effectiveness of hypochlorous acid, particularly against COVID, as well as the safety information, some studies on the safety of the inhalation, which will be available on the slides that go out. Slide, please. So please play the video. As soon as you step in the booth in front of the infrared sensors, the unit is instantly activated. It uses ultrasonic technology to generate a dry, encapsulates the body and won't wet clothing or fog up any glasses. The non-toxic disinfectant kills microbes that might be carried on a person passing through the booth, disinfecting each worker. These are all, and the hard surfaces in particular have been proved depending on the surfaces, depending on the material. So after 30 seconds, sounds to let you know that you've been how long the users have been there. Person's clothing. So an object is...
Sorry, the sound is cutting.
If we go to the next slide. So
Alex, you're breaking up a bit. I don't know.
Sorry. Is that okay?
Sorry, Alex. Maybe if you turn your video off, I think you'll be stronger. The connection will be stronger.
If what, sorry?
Although you've got such a nice setup for us to watch.
Yeah,
you've got such a nice... Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
So the most common objection, is that better now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, so the most common objection we get is that someone carrying the virus. If you pause that for a second, sorry, the video. The most common objection we get with the booth is that a person carrying the virus could cough and reinfect the area and the clothing, which is why we suggest using the booths in conjunction with other procedures such as thermal fever screening as well as masks. As Kate mentioned before, there's no silver bullet when it comes to reducing the transmission rate in terms of systems. So the more you can do, the less chance you've got of having an outbreak. So if you can play this video again, this next one. So this is the room fogger. So we've just specifically designed this unit to be easy to transport to different locations with a handle on the front of the unit to allow a second operative to take hold of the unit and lift it onto the vessel. After demonstrating the unit in its intended environment, we've realised that larger air-filled tyres will be more suitable, which is a quick fix. Also, the height of the output vent would need to be adjusted so that it reaches closer to the top of the roof. We could also use a flexible vent to distribute the fog more efficiently into the control room higher up. So the unit generates a dry fog of disinfectant to fill the entire room, disinfecting all the surfaces within the room as well as the air. Its high output fills room quickly and reduces the labour time in wiping down the entire vessel. Simply set the timer according to the room size and leave it running. So it took 7 minutes to fill the entire vessel, apart from the control room, as it was at a higher level. But as mentioned, that's a quick fix by using a flexible vent there. So compare this to the 40 minutes that the crew stated it takes to wipe down the vessel currently. And you've also got the risk of human error of missing spots if you're doing it all manually. The small 2 micron particles remain in the air for long periods of time, meaning that you get complete 100% surface contact, including all the hard to reach areas as well. The small micron size also means that the unit creates a dry fog, which means it have no adverse effects on the vessel's electronics as long as it's used correctly, i.e. the vent isn't pointing directly at the equipment. So if you could get on to the next slide, please. So here is the report by Michael Spencer, which is one of the operation managers at Ørsted on Friday. So I've just taken some snippets out of the report that he said. So getting the unit on and off the vessel was not a problem. Setting up the unit once in position was simple and only took a couple of minutes. Once switched on, the cabin area of the vessel was covered in a thick mist in approximately 7 minutes, and none of the watching staff had any form of irritation to the compound use. As well as maintaining a COVID-free area, this unit could save the crew's time with post-wipe downs and be more of a thorough clean. Could you have the next slide, please? Talking about the decontamination booth, which we set up in their workshop. It took about 15 minutes to set up and was operational. A very simple and effective way of disinfecting an individual and his or her outer garments. Both units were shown to be easy to set up and operate. These units, or similar, could well be an extra layer of protection in the battle against COVID, particularly in areas of high risk. So we got some great feedback from Orsted there, and we came back from the demo with a few quick fixes that we can make just to suit the environment better. I mean, the room fogger was originally designed for hotel rooms, but you know, as we mentioned, more rigid wheels would probably be more suitable. We'd adapt the ventilation, the output as well as there were other adaptations that we spoke about as well. We could even, if we wanted to get high input of people, we could maybe use a cabin, fog the whole cabin, so we could get more people in there. I'm sure there's some questions to be asked later on.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Alex. So the last presentation, last but by no means least, is from a company called Lifeshield, and it's Jeffrey Drummond to do the presenting. Are you there, Jeff? So you're still on mute at the moment. There we go. Yep.
Hello, Kate.
Hi, yeah, we can hear you.
I'm here.
Yep.
Thank you very much for introducing us to everybody, and good afternoon. My name's Jeff Drummond. I'm the founder of Lifeshield, and I would very much like to present you Lifeshield, Creating Safer Spaces. Next slide, please, Soteria. Thank you. The current problem, we're still in the middle of a pandemic caused by the virus known as COVID-19. The virus on an international level has severely damaged economies and threatened the abilities of companies, as we all know, to maintain safe working conditions. We're apparently in the worst downturn since the Great Depression, and the World Health Organization stated that coronaviruses will be with us for years. Even if a vaccine is found, there's no guarantee it will be 100% effective. Next slide, please. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Lifeshield's solution to the problem is something that we call Safe Light, which is based on a very narrow UVC wavelength. Lifeshield's Safe Light is designed to minimize the spread of the virus and protect both the workforce and the environment that they work in, allowing a company to operate as near as normal as possible. Lifeshield has put together a talented team of people from academics and industrial backgrounds to develop a solution to the COVID-19 problem. Next slide, please. Thank you. Well, how does our Lifeshield solution system work? On the right-hand side, you can see one of our it's designed but not in production yet. What we call fixed upper wall or ceiling safe light devices. And these are designed to emit a continuous stream of UVC light into a confined area. This light deactivates the virus. It's true to say it deactivates it rather than kills it, but it deactivates its RNA, which is similar to our DNA, and creates a safer space. The devices can operate in dual mode as well, with different power levels. For example, a high level could be used to disinfect surfaces before the boarding of personnel or passengers or crew. These devices can be manufactured to operate at various voltages and are virtually maintenance-free. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, the science behind our solution is based on the fact that the safe light wavelength that we use cannot pass through the outer human skin layer. And I think you can just about see it's the part of the slide on the right. But it can pass through the virus's outer layer and deactivate it. This is because the virus cell is much smaller than the human cell. This means that the safe light solution can't cause any damage to humans, but will deactivate the virus for the reasons I've just mentioned. Stop it from spreading and safeguard your workforce. We believe this technology could revolutionize the way we protect ourselves in pandemics. Could we have next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, Lifeshield's proprietary IP. Safe light devices are efficient producers of UVC light around the 222 nanometer wavelength. However, using excimer lamps instead of mercury lamps, we use the excimer lamp, small amounts of potentially harmful UVC are formed outside the safe wavelength. And you can see this in the diagram. The arrow on the left-hand side, the bandwidth has certain bandwidths jutting out on the left. When a filter is added, and that's the example on the upper right-hand side, it's much straighter and produces a much more precise wavelength. The unwanted wavelengths are removed by a special filter created for us. And this means that only the safe wavelengths are allowed to pass from the devices into the air to deactivate the coronavirus. We're in the process of patenting the filter and our IP and copyrighting Safe Life, Safe Spaces. Could I have next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, the proven science behind safe light technology. One of the first proponents of this safe light was Professor David Brenner, who's actually British. He works out of Columbia University, and on the 24th of June this year, which is obviously only just passed, in his report, in the conclusion, the report's obviously a very long report, I just put the conclusion, he stated that we have shown that very low doses of far UVC light efficiently kill airborne human coronaviruses. And low doses inactivates 99.9% of the airborne human coronavirus. Also in the same report, he reported that far UVC light, we use the 222 nanometer wavelength, has been shown to be as efficient as conventional germicidal UV light. Conventional germicidal UV light, by the way, has been used for years and years to kill MRSA and, for example, TB. So what he's saying is our form of UV light is just as effective in killing the microorganisms, but studies to date suggest that these wavelengths do not cause any human health issues, the sort of human health issues that other wavelengths will produce. Could I have the next slide, please?
Jeff, conscious of the time, Jeff, we've got about 8 minutes.
I think we've got, yeah. Lifeshield's route to market is based on the science behind safe light killing the virus and being safe to humans, highly competent teams in place. We have a cradle-to-grave research and development plan in place and ready to start. A path to certification has been agreed with the Lighting Association, who will provide the British and European kite marks. Next slide, please. Next and last one, Kate. The way forward for Lifeshield is to produce a safe light prototype device, have it tested and certified, and bring it to full production. We believe our solution to be safe, practical, versatile, and excellent value. Funding in the form of investment would speed up our path to market, and we see this as being roughly about 4 to 5 months. We believe it's an amazing opportunity to help develop and support a new European ground-breaking technology. We're keen for other companies like yourself to join our project, and we believe that any type of engagement, from investment to knowledge or support, would be invaluable to us, as there are many types of ways we can work together. Just to finish, please contact me if you are interested in engaging further. Thank you, Kate, and everybody.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. So that is the last of our finalists. So big thank you to everyone that's presented today. We're very grateful for all the innovators. So far, you know, we've been through interviews and questions and trials and demos and things like that, and they've all provided all of their time for free. I'm sure they'll receive approaches following this webinar about procurement, and all their contact details, as I said, will be provided following the webinar. So please do get in touch with them, even if it's just to find out more. I'm sure they'll be interested in hearing from you. In terms of questions, we do have some time for questions, and I noticed that on the chat there were some questions. One of the questions I noticed was about for Flameskill, and I think you've already actually answered this on the chat, but I'm not sure everyone can see the chat. So just so that we're clear, the question for Flameskill was, if you've got the mask on, is there any problems with communication or people hearing you? The answer is that it's just as normal. So communication is perfectly fine. Everyone can hear you as normal. I don't know if anyone needs to add anything to that. No, and then, but hopefully that's okay, Chris. And then the next question was about protection in place for users' cloth, considering the bleaching power, and that was a question for Entex. But as Alex demonstrated with the videos, it's a dry fogging technology. So it doesn't leave any residue, it doesn't have any bleaching effects that could be experienced with a wet spray because it's a dry spray. I noticed actually, Alex, that if you Google your company and go online, you'll see that it's been trialled in a hotel as well. And I got that from the hotel, that it's definitely, you can see in the hotel video as well that it's dry. So I don't know if there's any, you want to add anything, Alex?
No, that's right. I mean, we've been selling them into the hospitality sectors for that reason. If people go to hotels or restaurants, they don't want to come out of the booth soaking wet and feeling uncomfortable. So that's why they've been popular in that industry in particular.
Yeah, if you're going to a hotel, it's probably not as bad if you work somewhere, but you really don't want to if you're a guest somewhere, I guess. So no problems there. So I think that's all the questions actually that were asked on the chat. Mike, I'm conscious that you were supposed to be doing the Q&A. Is there anything that you want to add, Mike?
No, sorry, Kate. Yeah, absolutely. I think something I didn't mention earlier as well is just to say that we had a lot of applications to this competition, and there were some incredible efforts from the companies that obviously didn't make it to the finalists. So I think it's just worth mentioning that there's a hell of a lot out there at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, Mike. Actually, if anyone wants any more information on the other applicants that we had, as you say, we had 30 odd. So if anyone wants anything on those, then please just get in touch. Happy to provide that information.
Yeah. So I think the other thing I'd add, I think everyone in their presentations has a call to action. In most cases, it's get in touch and place an order if you're interested, or just find out more information. And in other cases, it's join us on a technology development journey, and if that suits you and that's something you want to partake in, then really encourage anyone to do that. I think the presentations were also good. You've answered all my questions already, if I'm honest. So my loaded ones have already been answered.
Well, I'm just going to round up now because I'm conscious of the time. So in terms of the challenge itself, the Knowledge Transfer Network and the IX program was an interesting way for us to work out solutions. I hadn't heard of it before. We've done this and we've come up with obviously a load of companies I've never even met before and wouldn't have met. So we're really pleased with how it's worked out. And the ORE Catapult and the Knowledge Transfer Network helped us to find these technologies. We didn't really have to do too much, to be honest. And if you do need British content, then that's obviously an added bonus. I know that that's in a lot of the offshore wind contracts at the moment. So really, I'd encourage any asset owners or big corporate companies in any sector to use the programme to help you solve any innovation challenges you might have. There's lots in offshore wind, not just COVID related, preferably something not COVID related, make a change. But it's free to use and big benefits to try and solve challenges really. And I guess, John and Mike and Co are all more than happy to be contacted, would love to be contacted. So please just get in touch. So just to finish with, the one thing I want to leave you with is a topic that's got nothing to do with health and safety or COVID. So it's diversity. So recently I found out this disgusting statistic that just 8% of the offshore wind workforce are female. And I think the stats for BAME are even worse. So when we compiled this speaking panel, we didn't really think about diversity, to be honest with you, because we were somewhat limited with whoever was submitting a bid. So we're about 25% for this panel, so it could definitely be better. But my G+ colleague Beata Hildenbrand and I feel passionately about this issue. So does the G+ board and the Energy Institute, especially through an initiative we have called the Powerful Women as part of the Energy Institute. So if anyone wants to talk about the topic or any other topics raised today, actually, then please just get in touch with the G+ or the Energy Institute through our social media channels or websites, or our G+ email address is g+@energyinst.org. So thanks ever so much, everyone, for tuning in today. Really great that there were so many attending, and we'll post lots on our website following the event. So any questions, get in touch. Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. I think we'll close now unless anyone's got anything they want to say before we finish. No, perfect. Brilliant. Okay, thanks, everyone, for joining then. Bye.